All right, welcome everybody. Today is Thursday, January 15th. Welcome to the Konflux community call. As a reminder, this by participating in this call, you agreed to the community code of conduct that we have published in GitHub. And when this call is done, the recording will be posted on YouTube as well. So with that, I'm going to hand over the floor to Adam to talk about an ADR for review.
Great, thank you. I'm going to share my screen briefly, and I don't have a ton of time, so I'm going to be brief. So this is a follow-up to the Maven pipeline ADR that I proposed before the end of the year. From the governance committee review, it felt that some of the ideas that were there probably needed to be formalized and generalized, especially because folks are using Konflux to build things that aren't containers right now, such as RPMs and Python wheels. And really, before we continue down this path, it probably makes sense for us to lay down just some key definitions and understanding of what the process should be. And the intent of the ADR is to do just that. So a lot of this ADR is really just definitions and refining definitions. In terms of actual things that need to be implemented right now, it's kind of a no-op. After doing a review of what we have for the upstream RPM build pipeline and the Konflux Python wheel pipeline that is stored in the Kalunga project, they actually kind of align to this, where their build is creating an OCI artifact where all the contents that are going to be released are stored. And then it's up to the release service as part of the release pipeline to then distribute the contents that are in that OCI artifact to any sort of destination. So for RPMs, that is typically like a pulp-backed repository. Python wheels is going to some kind of PyPI index. And we can continue this pattern for things like Maven in Java, NPM for Node.js, and so on and so forth. There's kind of like two things that are maybe worth calling out that are in terms of consequences. One is that our current kind of like nudging logic, it really only works for OCI container images. For things that aren't normally like packaged and distributed as OCI, there's kind of two workarounds that I put in the ADR that are kind of general recommendations. One is to change your code so that you're able to consume that artifact, and I give that actual definition of the component build artifact. The alternative is to have, and I think this might actually work pretty well, is defining what are effectively tenant release pipelines, where you are pushing to a kind of development package registry, whether that be, say, like Maven repository, Python index, whatever that ecosystem package registry is. And in doing so, and particularly if you've got like an auto release enabled, in some ways you kind of are doing, if you got auto release and like a renovate enabled, then you kind of get that similar nudging experience. So in some ways, what we're doing with nudging is a implicit release to a development package registry. So that was just an interesting thought.
Adam, I know that there is some work in the backlog to try and support scanning on OCI artifacts. I think that for maybe some representations of OCI artifacts, that might be simpler, like if it's just an image manifest that has a single layer. But if you have anything that's more complex, or if you have a image index that has multiple manifests, like I think that it might be beneficial, and maybe this is something that folks from integration can chime in on as well, to have like an optional annotation or something on OCI artifacts to indicate which layers or what should be scanned, so that we can add support for that to the various scanners like ClamIV, and whatnot that we support today. And I know that previously, I haven't read the ADR as you have updated it, so maybe you've already included it. There's also, I think one of the comments from the previous ADR was around the conform policy checks, and is it easy to configure new sets of required tasks for new, essentially, build pipelines that might be supported, because we're not going to have the same required tasks necessarily for containers as some other types of artifacts.
So I think I do need to add that as a part of this ADR then, for pairing the conformal policy as well, because it's something where they're all clearly tied together, where the thing that you are building, you need to define kind of what's the critical, you have to define what's the critical path on the pipeline, which Conforma needs to check, because that is actually something that is missing here, where folks can customize their pipeline, and if they're using trusted artifacts, it's fine as long as that critical path isn't interfered with.
Okay. Is that something that you would like me to comment on the ADR as you have it, or will you work to add it on your own?
Please add a comment just so that I have a reminder.
All right. Thanks for revamping this. I'm looking forward to reading it.
Great. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions for Adam this time before he moves to mobile? All right. Thanks again, Adam.
Thank you.
Gal is still not here, so we'll jump over him. And Eric, you're next on the agenda.
All right. So again, this is not the first time for sure, so I won't bother you again. This is the last reminder for Google Summer of Code of 2026. Next week, starting January 19th, the org application window officially starts. So if you click the link on the wiki page, that we currently have 3 ideas listed in there. I will be adding one more, so that constitutes 4 ideas. And I would like to submit the application sometime next week. I'll be in touch with Ralph, who pitched the other 2 ideas. So this is a final call for anyone to list another idea on the project ideas page. The more the merrier. So it would be great to have some more. Yeah, there was one more thing that I just forgot that I wanted to say. Yeah, so right now it's just pretty much me and Ralph, but there are so many very interesting efforts going on in Konflux. So it will be really, really great if you guys would consider not only pitching an idea, but also volunteering for mentoring. I believe every single idea should have at least 2 mentors assigned. So from a strictly mentor perspective, there is no action needed for the organization application. So I would take care of that and volunteer, and I would volunteer to be the org admin. But if Konflux is going to be picked by Google, as an organization, then the window for every mentor would open to sign up for the respective ideas. So just so you know, if you don't have an idea but you would like to mentor, as long as Konflux would be picked, then there's going to be a separate time slot or window to sign up for that. All right, so that's it. That's the last reminder.
Thanks again, Eric, for this. I haven't had a chance, or I haven't had an opportunity to submit anything, but the 3 ideas that are there so far look interesting. I'm looking forward to see what yours is as well. But others, please chime in with additional ideas. All right. Is there any other comment for Eric or a question for Eric? All right. Thanks again, Eric. Brock, do you want to chime in next?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So recap, privacy policy for our web assets. Basically, we want to add a little bit of analytics collection, and once you do that, you need to send cookies into the user's website, and there are various bits of legislation that you need to comply with, and all of them start with having a published privacy policy on your website or page, whatever it is. So to try to promote this, I created a draft policy, and it's in PR in our user policy documents repo. I forget the exact name of the repo. And basically, once I had the governance committee look at it and a bunch of folks here, then the next step was to take that with Red Hat Legal and just make sure we produce the document that doesn't create any kind of legal liability for Red Hat, or the wrong sort of legal liability anyway. And the response, now I got some response from them, and basically what they were saying is they are trying to avoid a situation where every single project or community have their own document, because that wouldn't be scalable for them. So their suggestion was to use Red Hat's privacy policy document. Now I've included the link in the meeting document, and I'm also pasting it in the chat right now. Please go ahead and have a look at it. I already have my concerns about it. I think it's way too big and complex for what we need in Konflux, and it can scare away people. And I kind of replied to them and said that, and let's see what they come back with. But if anybody else has comments, or if you think we actually should use this, please let me know.
Adam?
Hey, go ahead, Adam.
So I guess my first question is, what do we do? Are there similar Red Hat sponsored open source projects that have privacy policies? Like Fedora is the one that really comes to mind, where they most certainly have blazed that trail. They've got their own self-hosted discussion forums, other areas where it's very clear that at the end of the day, it is a Red Hat entity that is sponsoring or owning the user data. So is that something where, does Fedora have policy? Would it make sense to go to respond back and say, like, is this one better?
So I did in my response to legal, I did ask this as well. Like I said, right? I mean, they seem to have this definition of a Red Hat project versus non-Red Hat project, and they kind of categorized Konflux as a Red Hat project. And I told them, right, but if we are going to remain a Red Hat exclusive project, that means we fail. But so I did ask about Fedora, because obviously Fedora is not exclusive, so maybe they treat it differently. Having said that, the extent of stuff Fedora has, I I think their privacy policy is probably as complex as Red Hat's at this point, because they have a bunch of stuff, not just a website. They have forums and a bunch of other stuffs and a real account system in place and system access and stuff like that. So a bunch of stuff that we don't need. But yeah, if we could-
Jacob,
yeah, sorry for that. But yeah, I did ask about Fedora for Red Hat Legal. I actually don't know if Fedora
Jacob,
has its own privacy
we need to
policy
get ready to go.
or it's using Red Hats. If somebody here knows,
have
I'll
you
be happy to
brushed
hear
your
about it.
teeth? Okay, so let's go.
Sorry,
Yeah,
bro.
Adam, if you could mute.
I muted Adam. I mean, I think it makes sense from one sense or from one perspective. If right now, Red Hat's the only organization in the community, so it makes sense to just adopt the policy that we have internally already. That allows us to use the tools that are approved that we have as well. And as things change, we can always modify and adapt the policy as needed.
Yeah, so one more concern I raised with legal. So basically, it would have been a lot easier if there was some kind of a tool package that says, right, use this policy, and here is the tool API you connect to, and now everything works, right? But that it's not like that. Like, they gave me a policy, and then there's no guidance for how you do, say, for example, the compliance management tool, which compliance management tool you should use and how. And this is one thing you should do when you have this policy. You need to have this tool where users can select whether they allow cookies or not, and request their data to be deleted. There's a whole bunch of stuff you need to be able to do. But it looks like we don't have anything that's kind of agreed upon or provided by Red Hat. So we will have to adopt our own thing. And there's a bunch of possibilities, some of them open source, some of them less so. But another thing I'm afraid of is that we'll adopt a tool for our sites, but then because we're using Red Hat's policy, the users would expect that if they send the request for data deletion to our site, it would mean they actually get data deletion throughout the Red Hat assets, and that's would be very hard to achieve. So yeah, I those are the concerns I raised, but hopefully they do get back to me and say, right, but here's stuff you can use it to make it easier for you. But I don't know, like I've been looking at this for a while now, and I didn't really get this kind of answer yet, where here is a package deal that you can just sign up to, and you get everything working together. Adam or Mandy?
Yeah, so maybe I have a question. What kind of data do you plan to collect?
So standard analytics data. I mean, our intention is to use Google Analytics and Amplitude. So that means everything from the basic stuff, referrer URLs and the user agent, going all the way to mouse movements and clicks and stuff like that. So everything those tools can do, which is all the static web stuff you can use without installing anything on the user's machine.
Maybe I asked it the wrong way. Is this specifically for Konflux, like web pages and stuff, or do you want to also cover a Konflux UI and possible inclusion of analytics and telemetry there, like in the Konflux system itself?
Well, that's a whole other project. Let's try not to scope creep, because if you do it for Konflux, then there's a question like, what do you do? What is the upstream stance? Does it work for the upstream version or not? Or can the users enable versus disable it? Can they see their own telemetry data, right? Doing for actual software.
I understand. That's why I'm asking and maybe that's because I missed a part of it when you talked about it before this meeting. We are specifically talking about Konflux web pages, like complex project web pages. and
Yeah,
stuff.
right now I'm trying to focus on the web assets. Like we could have a separate discussion about
Yeah, I understand.
the
Like
things
you are
we can do
completely
for
right. It's
yeah.
its own beast. I don't know. Honestly, I would not be against using the policy as described here. I believe it's pretty comprehensive. And if somebody is, how do you call, scared by, I believe, pretty normal privacy policy, then I don't know. Like I don't think that many people read them, and even less people are probably scared by this, I believe, pretty normal policy. So I will not be. I believe I understand, and I'm more for let's use what Reddit is using somewhere else, unless we have pretty big community where having it our own privacy policies would be warranted.
All right. Any other comments?
Thanks for continuing to drive this, Brock.
Sure thing.
That brings us to the end of our agenda. I'm sure that Gal's comment on his item was there all along. I just didn't see it. He's not going to be able to make it today. So his topic is pushed back until later. Are there any other topics to bring up today? All right. Thanks everybody for coming, and I'll see you around and talk to you later. Bye.
See you.